Picture this. It's July 7th, 1944. Dawn is breaking over Saipan in the Mariana Islands, and Lieutenant Colonel William O'Brien is gripping two Colt M1911A1 pistols, each loaded with 7 rounds of devastating .45 ACP ammunition. What happens next will blow your mind and show you exactly why American forces carried what many consider the deadliest military sidearm ever created. Before we dive in, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. At 4:45 a.m., the earth literally trembles as thousands of Japanese soldiers come screaming through the pre-dawn darkness in the largest banzai attack of the entire Pacific War. Leading this terrifying charge are Imperial Japanese Army officers with their katana, swords gleaming, followed by wave after wave of troops with fixed bayonets, and among them, officers carrying their standard sidearm, the Type 14 Nambu pistol chambered in 8.22mm. What unfolds in the next few minutes will demonstrate the absolutely brutal difference between two nations' approaches to personal combat weapons and reveal why the American Colt M1911A1 earned its legendary reputation as a one-shot man-stopper. The American M1911A1 had already proven itself in World War I trenches, designed by the legendary John Moses Browning and adopted by the U.S. Army in 1911. This single-action, recoil-operated beast fired the .45 ACP cartridge, a round specifically, engineered for one terrifying purpose: stopping power that would knock a man down regardless of where it hit him. The brutal math was simple. When fired from the M1911A1's 5-inch barrel, that 230-grain bullet traveling at 830 feet per second carried enough momentum to embed itself completely on impact rather than over-penetrating, making it devastatingly effective in close-quarters combat where a single well-placed shot could end a threat immediately. By 1944, American factories had cranked out an incredible 1,878,642 M1911A1 pistols, with production spread across multiple contractors including Colt, Remington Rand, Ithaca, Union Switch and Signal, and even the Singer Sewing Machine Company, which produced 500 highly sought-after pistols before transferring their tooling. This massive production ensured American forces in the Pacific were equipped with reliable sidearms, with the Marine Corps alone increasing their pistol allocation from 798 per division in 1942 to 1,177 per division by 1945, recognizing that Pacific combat often devolved into close-quarters fighting where rifles became unwieldy. Standing in stark contrast was Japan's Type 14 Nambu pistol, named after Colonel Kajiro Nambu and introduced in 1926. This striker-fired semi-automatic had an 8-round magazine and 4.6-inch barrel, giving it one more round than the M1911A1. But here's where things get interesting. The Nambu suffered from fundamental design flaws and ammunition limitations that would prove fatal in combat. The Type 14 fired the 8.22mm Nambu cartridge, launching a pathetically light 100-grain bullet at 1,000 feet per second. While the velocity was higher than the .45 ACP, that dramatically lighter bullet carried far less momentum and stopping power, and the cartridge was so unique that it shared no commonality with any other military round worldwide, complicating logistics and limiting development. Japanese military doctrine required officers to purchase their own sidearms, and at 78 yen, the Type 14 represented a significant chunk of an officer's salary, but many carried pistols that were fundamentally inadequate for combat. The Type 14's design flaws became nightmarish under combat conditions. The safety required 2 hands to operate, making it impossible to quickly ready the weapon under fire. The magazine release would bind in wet or dirty conditions. There was no bolt hold open feature, so you couldn't tell when empty, and most critically, it had a magazine disconnect that rendered the pistol completely useless if the magazine was damaged or lost, unlike the M1911A1, which could still fire a chambered round. Japan had produced about 400,000 Type 14 pistols since 1926, while America manufactured nearly 5 times as many M1911A1s just during the war years alone, demonstrating the vast industrial gap between the nations. The morning of July 7, 1944, put these weapons to their ultimate test when Major McCarthy described the Japanese Banzai attack as resembling a cattle stampede from a Western movie, except the Japanese just kept coming. The attack had been preceded by heavy drinking as soldiers prepared for what many knew would be their final battle. Lieutenant Colonel O'Brien found himself directly in the assault's path, drew both M1911A1 pistols, and began engaging targets at close range. The 45 ACP rounds proved devastatingly effective. Each 230-grain bullet that found its mark dropped an attacker immediately, the heavy projectile transferring its full energy into the target. When O'Brien exhausted ammunition in both pistols, he was severely wounded but continued fighting, taking control of a Jeep-mounted .50 caliber machine gun. His rearguard action allowed his men to regroup, and when Japanese forces finally overran, his position, at least 30 enemy bodies were found around his final fighting position, many attributed to his accurate pistol fire. Private Tom Baker's story from the same battle is equally incredible. When his rifle ammunition was exhausted, he used it as a club until it broke on Japanese attackers. Wounded and unable to retreat, his fellow soldiers propped him against a tree, lit a cigarette for him, and placed a loaded M1911A1 with 8 rounds in his hands. When Baker's body was found after the battle, the M1911A1 lay empty beside him with 8 Japanese soldiers dead in a rough circle around his position. Each round had found a target, demonstrating both the weapon's accuracy and the devastating effect of 45 ACP in skilled hands. These weren't isolated incidents. Throughout the Pacific Theater, the M1911A1 proved its worth in countless engagements. During Guadalcanal, when a sword-wielding Japanese officer and 2 riflemen charged Admiral Archer Vandegrift's command, Marines with M1911A1 pistols engaged at close range, with 45 ACP rounds proving capable of stopping determined enemies even in full charge. The effectiveness of 45 ACP wasn't accidental. It was developed specifically responding to American experience during the Philippine insurrection from 1899-1901, where forces armed with 38 long Colt revolvers encountered Moro tribesmen who continued fighting even after multiple close-range hits. Following the Thompson-Lagarde tests of 1904, which examined cartridge effectiveness against live animals and human cadavers, the Army determined nothing less than .45 caliber would provide adequate stopping power. The psychological impact was as important as the physical effect. The large caliber report and visible impact had profound effects on enemy morale, with Japanese forces quickly learning to respect the distinctive sound of M1911A1 fire. The deep boom of 45 ACP was unmistakably different from smaller calibers, and enemy forces learned to associate it with immediate lethality. Captured. Japanese documents revealed their awareness of American firepower superiority, with one officer writing, "We know we are going to die, so we have no fear," but also revealing clear understanding that Japanese forces were outmatched in equipment and logistics. Individual Japanese soldiers carried 45-kilogram equipment loads, representing 87% of the average soldier's 52-kilogram body weight, creating forces that relied on fanatical determination rather than tactical superiority. The contrast in manufacturing quality became apparent as the war progressed. American M1901A1 production maintained high standards with interchangeable parts and durable finishes, while Japanese Type 14 production showed declining quality with late-war pistols featuring rough wooden grips and deteriorating fit and finish. The ammunition logistics disparity was equally telling. America produced massive quantities of consistent 45 ACP with specialized variants like shot cartridges for aircrew survival, while Japan struggled to maintain adequate supplies of their unique 8x22 Nambu ammunition. American pistol training emphasized marksmanship, with the weapon serving as both primary tool for officers and backup when primary arms failed, while Japanese training emphasized traditional warrior skills requiring closing to contact distance against superior American firepower. The M1911A1's reliability under adverse conditions became legendary, functioning in Guadalcanal mud, Tarawa coral dust, Iwo Jima volcanic sand, and Okinawa rain-soaked terrain. Its simple, robust design meant basic field maintenance kept weapons operational under the most challenging circumstances, while Type 14 Nambu magazine problems became notorious with tight tolerances and disconnect features making weapons inoperative when exposed to combat conditions. By late 1944, the disparity was unmistakable. American units carried refined M1911A1 pistols improved through 3 years of combat experience, while Japanese forces faced critical shortages and declining equipment quality. The invasion of Okinawa in April 1945 provided the final test with 82 days of brutal fighting, resulting in over 12,000 American killed and 36,000 wounded, but catastrophic Japanese losses of 70,000 military dead, plus 150,000 civilian casualties. The effectiveness disparity between American and Japanese small arms played a crucial role, with capture documents revealing Japanese soldiers had developed profound respect for American firepower, particularly the devastating effect of .45 caliber weapons. Post-war analysis revealed America manufactured nearly 2 million M1911A1 pistols during war years, while Japan's total Type 14 production over nearly 2 decades barely exceeded 400,000 units. This 5.1 advantage reflected broader industrial capabilities that ultimately determined the war's outcome. The effectiveness of .45 ACP in Pacific combat led to continued use by Special Operations Forces long after the M1911A1 was replaced, with the round's proven stopping power making it irreplaceable for close-quarters situations requiring immediate threat neutralization. The contrast between these sidearms represented more than different design approaches. It reflected fundamental differences in industrial capacity, tactical doctrine, and understanding of modern warfare, with the American pistol being the product of systematic weapons development incorporating lessons from previous conflicts and backed by massive production capabilities, while the Type 14, despite representing advancement over earlier Japanese sidearms, suffered from limitations of a nation lacking resources for extensive development and testing. The legacy of the M1911A1 in Pacific combat extends far beyond specifications. It became a symbol of American industrial might and tactical professionalism, with its effectiveness demonstrating the importance of technological superiority in modern warfare, and the stories of men like O'Brien and Baker using their pistols to deadly effect became part of American military legend, showing that proper weapons in skilled hands could achieve results far beyond what statistics suggest, ultimately validating Browning's design and proving that in modern warfare, superior equipment quality and quantity could overcome even the most determined opposition. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment telling us your thoughts. And if you found this video insightful, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe for more history stories like this. Thanks for watching.